a public update meeting for Ovid Hazen Wells Phase 1 expansion project. This meeting is to provide updates to interested folks such as yourselves as Parks moves this project towards construction. My name is Josh Arnett. I'm the Montgomery Parks Engineering Section Supervisor. A few housekeeping rules before the presentation starts. The meeting is scheduled from 7 to 8. We do have a hard stop at 8, and I will be providing reminders as we get closer to the time. There will be about a 20-minute presentation by members of the project team with the remaining time to address questions and comments. All comments and questions should be put into the Q&A section here on Zoom. At the end of the presentation, I'll be facilitating the Q&A session and will be passing the virtual mic to members of the project team to best address the questions and comments in the time that we have. We will also be taking a look at the questions that we don't answer here, received here, and we will post an FAQ document to the website at a later time. So with that, I will turn the floor over to Brian Lewandowski, engineer and project manager for this project.
Thank you, Josh. Good evening. I'm Brian Lewandowski, the project manager and engineer in the Park Department Division. I'm pleased to be here today to show you the development plan for the expansion of the active recreation area of Ovid Hazen Wells Recreational Park. Our Montgomery County project team includes myself as a project manager, landscape architect Ching Fang Chen, architect Samantha Schroen, park manager David Farner, enterprise division chief Christy Turnbull, design section supervisor Patricia McManus, engineering section supervisor Josh Arnett. The consultant team was led by architect David Bagnoli from Studio MB. The civil engineers were Jason Azar and Sean Lindeman of Clark Azar and Associates. And the environmental specialist was Mike Norton of Norton Land Design. Ovid Hazen Wells Recreational Park has an area of 290 acres. The property is located at 12121 Skylark Road and borders Piedmont Road. Entrances to the park exist off of Skylark and Ridge Road. The master plan proportioned the park into 3 areas. Area A, the active recreation area. Area B, the event area, which remains undeveloped. Area C, the home, food, gardens, and organic farm area, now operated by the Red Wiggler Farm Partnership. Area B includes the historic Ned Watkins House, and Area C includes the historic Oliver Watkins House. The Planning Board approved the master plan update for the full 290-acre site in 2014. It determined that the carousel should be located in the active recreation area of the park, and it also developed a program of requirements. In 2015, the facility plan was approved by the Planning Board and the cost estimate for active area recreation A. Next slide. Since the overall budget to build out this area of the park was very large, Parks requested to build the carousel building and some supporting elements in phases. As shown here, phase 1 includes the carousel building with ticketing and restrooms, multiple active areas for playground, hill slides, and swings, an amphitheater, picnic terrace, skate park, kite lawn, and open space, parking, and gathering areas for seating and special events. The Planning Board approved phase 1 of the active area A for inclusion in a FY17 to 22 capital improvements program. This is a rendering of the final design and construction plan for phase 1, expansion of Ovid Hazen Wells active recreational area A. Our plan includes the following proposed elements. Skate park, labeled A, shown in the upper left corner of the plan. Stormwater management facilities, labeled B, in the middle and right middle of the plan. A swing active area, labeled C, in the upper middle of the plan. The carousel building, labeled D, just to the right of the swing area. A group picnic area, labeled E, just to the upper left of the carousel. New renovated parking, labeled F, shown in the middle of the plan. Hillslide activity area, labeled G, shown in the right middle side of the plan. A new playground, labeled H, just above the hillslides. Concrete pathways, labeled I, just to the left of this playground. Concrete drop-off and carousel entrance, labeled J, shown in the middle right of the plan. Landscape trees, labeled K, are shown in the middle of the plan. The additional existing site elements that are remaining and are also shown. Existing playground, labeled L, in the lower left of this plan, as well as 3 existing shelters, labeled M, in the same area. Existing stormwater management bioretention facility, labeled N, in the middle of the plan. Existing stormwater sand filter, labeled O, shown to the upper right of the plan. Existing ball fields, labeled P, at the right side of the plan. And finally, the existing trees, labeled Q, at the bottom of the plan and along Skylark Road. The skate park will be located behind the existing shelters and next to the ball fields at the western edge of the site. This area will have Wi-Fi capability and be used by all ages and abilities from beginner to advanced. From skateboards to rollerblades, scooters to bikes, we envision a concrete skate plaza with steps, rails, ramps, pikes, ledges, and bowls. We are building a picnic shelter in this area for users to sit and gather in this space. This is a wondrous way to start your visit at the park. Attention all community skate park users. Our design builder is going to come to Haley Wells Middle School on October 14th. Come join us from 1 to 4 to give us your ideas as to what elements you would like to see in the new skate park. Please sign up to register for this event at mocoparks.org/OHW skate. The swing play area will provide a gathering place for all ages. Young children can play on the swings with parents. Teens will enjoy more challenging swing features, and the older adults can sit and watch or lounge in a sway swing for themselves. This area overlooks the Stream Valley and provides views of a historic Ned Watkins homestead and the carousel to the east. There will be bench seating at the trail intersection and behind some of the swing elements so families or individuals can rest as they transverse from the skate park to the carousel. A grass amphitheater provides great viewing opportunities along this gentle hillside for programmed events or simple lounging experiences. The walkway in front of the carousel is shaded by the building's canopy, and a small seat wall sets the frame for a stage. Park users can enjoy Wi-Fi capability around the building during the day. The existing parking lot in front of the new carousel building will be transformed to include a large drop-off area, shown as letter J in the upper view. This area can be used for large special events that include tables, tents, and food concessions, or as a meeting area for the arrival or departure of larger groups. A 20-foot wide walkway leads up to the carousel from this location. This drop-off area is framed on each side with accessible parking spaces on the right and regular parking spaces on the left, and also serves as the access to emergency service vehicles that need to travel to the building. The parking lot to the south of this feature will be reconstructed to provide bioretention facilities inside a large island with plantings, showcasing this new entrance. This is shown with the letter B in the upper right-hand portion of this view. The number of parking spaces in the parking lot below this new facility will remain the same, while 19 new parking spaces are added as the remaining 2 parking lots shown with the letter F are merged together. The existing bioretention facility identified with the letter N in the lower left remains in place and will not be disturbed. While the second bioretention facility, again labeled with B, will get renovated at the opposite end of the island. Native landscape trees will be planted between these facilities as shown with the letter K. Overall, there will be approximately 52 parking spaces added with the Phase 1 in the active recreational area of Ovid Hazen Wells. The lower view shows the ball field area at the southwestern entrance of the park. This area was recently repaved and 26 new parking spots were added. The additional 7 spaces we just recently added to the existing playground and shelter area in order to provide accessible parking to those facilities. Next slide. The hill slides active area features 3 tall hill slides. 2 slides provide a 12-foot drop experience, and a third accessible slide provides an 8-foot drop experience. From children to adults, this area will be an exciting active area. Nestled in the hillside will be a series of 4 large rock stone seat walls and a set of flat rock stairs leading from the top of the concrete mound starting platform area to the bottom landing made of wood fiber safety surfacing, and provides a unique setting for play, sitting or resting on the stone rock seat walls, or lounging under the landscape trees shading this area. This area provides a constant, continuous looping play experience as soon as you arrive at the park, after you ride the carousel, or take part in using the large playground next to the carousel. The large playground is located next to the carousel and is nestled downhill from the parking lot. An accessible path takes you down to the semicircular gathering space where musical play instruments adorn the edge. The playground includes a large tensile tower with slides and climbing elements. The playground has a smaller 8-foot carousel to spin around on, a rope climber called the Mini Mars, a red tractor, and an octopus seesaw. This playground is protected with long seat walls to the west side and a segmental retaining wall with decorative panel fence along the eastern edge, keeping everyone safely away from the stormwater management sand filter below. There are many shade trees that will be planted to keep this area cool and provides a sense that you are closer to the forested stream buffer. The large meadow on the ridge line is where the Kite Festival is held. This is the heart of the park and has views into the event areas and beyond, creating a unifying, flexible open space that organizes the site. The dominant open space creates a bucolic setting. A variety of landscape trees will define and further beautify this area. The picnic area, located next to the carousel, creates a unique gathering space to sit, look out over the fascinating views across the stream valley. It has 2 levels that are separated by a low wall that allows for patrons in this space not to feel isolated or separated from each other. The upper level has a flat grade and will have tables that are accessible. There will be trees planted here to provide shade to this area. The carousel building was carefully sited at this location to be as far away from the road and neighboring houses as possible, while still fitting into the natural rolling topography of the site, and still have an eye-catching experience when approaching from the parking lot, the drop-off areas, or the skate park. This building will house the Wells Carousel that is currently located at Wheaton Regional Park, and the carousel will be carefully taken down, restored, made accessible, and reinstalled in this new building as part of this project. During the facility plan, a noise study was conducted, and the results showed that the sound levels will be below acceptable limits identified in the Montgomery County Code. Also, the carousel will operate during the weekends and for seasonal events only, and the enterprise management staff knows to operate the noise at the low level. I will now turn the presentation over to our architect, Samantha Schroen, to tell us more about the building design.
Thanks, Brian. First, I want to thank everyone for attending this meeting tonight and for giving us the opportunity to share the status of the project. I can see there's quite a few people who are online this evening, so that's great. There are a few things that Brian has touched on. I'm going to mention them again because I think they're worth repeating. And there's a lot that could be said about the carousel building itself, but I will touch on first the history of the carousel, the siting of the carousel, the architecture, and lastly, the operations. So as Brian mentioned, the carousel building will be, the carousel itself will be moved from Wheaton Regional Park to Ovid Hazen Wells. But this is not the first time that this carousel has moved. It was originally constructed in 1915, and it was on the National Mall from the late 1960s to the early 80s. So through this project, the carousel will be restored and outfitted with an accessible ride, such as a chariot seat. We will work through that with a carousel vendor to restore and upgrade the carousel. So the restoration of this treasure is an important component of the project, and we're really excited about that. The siting of the carousel building was carefully considered by Parks and the entire design team. Its final location is nestled into the landscape, offering views to the east as well as providing protection from the wind. We know wind is available on this site, which gives us the opportunity for the Great Kite Festival. The building itself is open 270 degrees to its surroundings, providing views across the stream valley and toward the two historic buildings that were noted earlier. On this slide, you can see renderings of the buildings that were produced by Studio MB. The architectural design is a contemporary response to the agricultural setting, and the carousel itself lent itself to a silo-shaped building, and the canopy mimics the rotating movement of the carousel turning. The canopy also serves as an area, a shaded area for visitors to wait for a carousel ride, and also to take in the sights and sounds at the carousel. The primary building materials are wood and metal, and the color palette is muted in reds and browns. Next slide. This is a plan drawing taken from the construction documents. The carousel building is currently in for permit. We've received some comments from DPS, but not too many. It's a relatively small building. The primary purpose, obviously, is to house the carousel. Within the building, there will be a ramp, which you can see kind of in the middle to right of the image, which provides an accessible route up to the carousel and onto the accessible spot within the carousel. The enclosed portion of the building will house an office for the enterprise group to run operations and sell tickets and make the carousel go and stop and all of those great things. There are 4 restrooms within the enclosed area, 2 of which are fully accessible, and 1 of which will provide an adult changing table, which we're very excited to offer at this facility. In terms of operations, the carousel will run similarly to its operation schedule that is at Wheaton right now. So it's seasonal, be open from April to October, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on weekends and some holidays. We're working through the schedule with our parks team to open the restrooms themselves during that spring through late fall, to have the restrooms open 7 days a week to the park patrons. We're still working through that aspect of the project. So that covers the building and the carousel. I'll pass it back to Brian. You can go to the next slide.
Thanks, Samantha. Currently, we are at the end of our permitting stage. And our bidding part of the project is starting. Our skate park design build project is going to begin next month. Next slide, please. The overall park construction is expected to begin in January and last approximately 15 to 18 months. The skate park construction will begin in the spring, summer of 2024. The carousel building and final completion stabilization of the project is anticipated for early fall of 2025. That concludes this presentation. Thank you very much.
All right, hi again. This is Josh Arnett, Engineering Section Supervisor for Parks. I'll be facilitating the Q&A. So far we have about 11 questions / comments put into our Q&A session. Feel free to continue to add. And the way this will work is, some questions I'll combine in a general sense. For example, there's a lot of questions about traffic and parking. We can combine that and talk a little more about that. It was mentioned in the presentation, but we can certainly expand. Feel free to continue to put them in. And like I said, we'll be here till 8 answering questions. If we exhaust the questions, great. Makes us feel good about ourselves. And then, we'll take it from there. So first question, got a series of questions regarding traffic studies and how this will impact the Skylark Road and how parking was studied. And so I'll partially answer that question and I'll allow the panel to jump in as they desire. But during the facility plan process, there was numerous public meetings as well as numerous studies, including traffic studies, acoustic studies, which would be the sound caused by our development in the park, as well as parking studies. And the report concluded sounds from the new facilities would be in line with county noise ordinance, as mentioned in the presentation, as well as the existing roadway capacity would be adequate for the implementation of this project. And I'll go a little further with explanation on traffic studies. They generally, or they do, account for growth in a longer term look. We can't just say, well, this year it's okay, so it must be okay. So it does look at the growth over, I think we look 10, 20 years into the future, as well as any new projects, whether they are park projects at Ovid Hazen Wells or whether they are developments in the area, has to look at surrounding roads and traffic studies to be approved by our planning board. So we do have a lot of traffic professionals as well as planners looking through this to ensure that the capacity is adequate. Now, with that said, there's always opportunity to reach out to MCDOT for their study of different roadways as well, and they'll do traffic counts as well and reanalyze based on what exists now. Anyone from the panel want to add? Okay. All right. And then noise, I talked a little bit about noise, but we can go into a little more detail about how the speakers of the carousel operate. And I'd like to pass that to Samantha to start, and we might be able to talk to Christy Turnbull, who is the division chief for Enterprise, which operates our carousel buildings.
So I can only speak to that just a little bit. I know that it was accounted for in the noise analysis, and as Brian alluded to, the sound can be, the volume can be up or down, and we will set it to not exceed the noise levels that are allowed within Montgomery County. We also sited the building kind of back and central to the larger park parcel, so it is not directly adjacent to any neighborhood. but it's within the larger neighborhood community, obviously. And then for the operations, 10 to 6, and then holiday days, 10 to 6 on weekends and holiday days. So in the intent is not to disturb folks during, early morning, late evening, or work hours. I hope that addresses it a little bit. And then I don't know if Christy has anything else she wants to add on to that.
Thanks, Samantha. I think the only thing to add really is that the speakers will be facing the ride itself, so they will not be facing out towards the neighborhood. And we will be monitoring the music levels like we do now at Wheaton to ensure that we are not disrupting the area, and it's mainly just for the folks that are riding the carousel.
All right, thank you, Samantha and Christy.
Josh, I'd like to add to that. My
Yep.
name is Tricia McManus. I'm our design section supervisor, and I participated, in the study, the facility planning study a few years ago. And, there was an acoustic study done back then, and also, traffic and parking studies. So I think if we could share the link to those documents, I think some people are asking for those in the chat. But specifically with the acoustic analysis, they did, measure the sound of the carousel at Wheaton Regional Park, and then they measured background noise within the community from the residences, and did some specific projections on, what the sound levels would be, based on the carousel in the location where it was proposed. And as Samantha said, just to, it's set back from the residences. It's also there was an important study done on the ridge line that runs through the park. So the carousel was sited on the back of that ridge line so that it's not up high where noise and where it would be very visible and where the noise would carry. It's set behind the slope. So, there was some very careful thought and analysis in terms of the siting of it. And the acoustics study concluded that the carousel would not exceed, and I think others have said this, the noise ordinance limits, nor would it exceed a limit that's lower than that would affect people's ability to hear and speak. I mean, you will be able to hear the carousel noise, the carousel music, when you're outdoors during the day, but the intent is to keep it at the lowest level. And I think the operation of the carousel, Christy, you might confirm this, at least back then, it's only operates on weekends, and I think it's from 10 till 7. So it's not on all the time. But maybe you could just confirm that. But I just wanted to make people aware there are studies that are attached to that facility planning study that's on the website, the planning board website, and I'm sure we can provide the link.
Yes, thank you, Patricia. This is Christy Turnbull with the Enterprise Division. And as Samantha and Brian have already stated, the carousel will be operating weekends from 10 to 6, and we will be evaluating just the traffic in the park, whether those are the correct hours to operate or not. It will not operate at night, but that again will be foreseen once we start operating in the park, but it will be weekends only from the spring till probably about Labor Day. And we'll kind of go from there.
All
I
right,
have
thank
a
you.
little bit to add. My name is Jingfang Chen. I'm the landscape architect. I was involved in the master plan amendment and the facility plan. It was never intended to use Skylark as overflow parking. Parking is to be only within the park premise. So during the traffic study, it was very clear Skylark is not to be used for overflow parking.
Thank you, Ching Fang. Yeah, that as another question that came on that it was more specific. One of the many questions we got on parking and its adequacy, and to kind of follow up on that, people will still park where they want, and how do we, patrol that? And there is enforcement, both by the county police and park police, as well as, we have our maintenance workers on duty during the weekends, and they, there's always a park manager assigned to areas, that also monitor the situation and, of course, response to that. Let's see. All right, so we got a series of questions about a rec center and aquatic center. So this is gonna just take me a second. There's a history here on that, but the rec and aquatic center was identified in the master plan for the Clarksburg area. So that would be a Department of Recreation and a Department of General Services that would undertake that project. And it was identified as Ovid Hazen Wells being a possible site to be put into a site selection study, which to our understanding has not occurred. We did reach out before this meeting to get kind of the latest from DGS, and it has not proceeded in any meaningful way. It's certainly something that would benefit from community requesting and asking about. And as part of our FAQ, we can submit links to like the contact us for those agencies. And so that's our answer for that question. And it was not located in this project's area. This project, what Brian has showed you in this project is what was identified for this area. Not there was a more northern parcel that was identified for that area if it was selected during the site selection study, which there would be more public outreach as part of their process. All right, and bear with me, the questions keep moving around on my screen, so I have to keep coming back to finding them. There's questions there's requests to make sure we share this data, and I believe some of the links should have been put in the chat, but we'll also make sure they're included on the FAQ document that gets added to our website, because it can be cumbersome to find that stuff, and we understand that. Let's see, some questions about the skate park. I believe there's a question on why is the skate park coming first, and I'll turn it back over to Brian to be able to talk about that process a little more.
Hi, thanks, Josh. Yes, the skate park is actually proceeding at the same time as the park construction. We are just basically having it in a different method. It's called design build. So what happens is the designer and the construction general contractor get together, and it provides a more rapid way of implementing the skate park. So yes, it was bid a little bit earlier in order for us to start the design process with the design builder, but by no means is it going to be under construction before the skate park. Basically, the general contractor has to coordinate with the skate park contractor, and in the very beginning, rough grading needs to be done by the general contractor for the skate park builder in order for him to proceed and start his construction for the skate park elements. Right now, there is no design, which is why we would love to start next month to get skaters' ideas. The representatives of the design builder will hopefully be available. Right now, the contracts are still being signed, so we anticipate that all taking place. And this meeting comes together on October 14th. If there's any other questions, just let me know. But we certainly have a lot of experience with several other skate parks that we've built in the county, and also we've noticed the skate parks in different counties. Especially, I've been watching the skate park in Hagerstown. That has a tremendous amount of elements. It's pretty big. This skate park area is comparable in size, but a little smaller. So as part of the bid documents, we've actually anticipated that we hope to be at that same level by the time that the skate park is initiated and built. Okay, thank you very much.
All right. I see a question regarding whether there will be lights here at the carousel and skate park. And my understanding is the carousel has internal lights. Obviously, it's a building. There will be, I think, small security light and lights leading to the parking for the carousel. And the skate park does not have lights at this time, which means it operates under our normal park hours of dawn to dusk. And any lights moving forward that Parks puts into that Montgomery Parks would put it into any parks will have dark sky compliant fixtures. We do a pretty robust look at how our lights affect the night sky, and it's a common question we get, especially when it goes to ball field lights, et cetera, but not relevant for this project at this time. There's some questions about how this site got selected for the carousel. And I think Patricia might be the best to answer that if she's willing.
Sure. The carousel was required to be part of this park. It was donated by the Wells family, and it was originally the carousel and Christy may know a little bit more about the history, but it was originally the carousel on the mall in downtown DC, and it was donated by the Wells family to Wheaton Regional Park, but with the ultimate intent for it to move to this park, Ovid Hazen Wells, which was donated by the Wells family. So the deed for this park required that the carousel be moved to this park at a time when the park was developed enough to support it as a facility. So we received, it was 10, 15 years ago, we received a lot of requests as Clarksburg was being developed, and communities were being developed in that area, the parks were being developed, that now is the time that the carousel should be moved, because there's a robust community in the Clarksburg area. The parks are being developed and can support the facility, and it was a stipulation of the land deed and requirement to move it here. So I think there is a lot of there were many requests from the council members in this area and the broader Clarksburg community to move the carousel here, which initiated the project.
Thank you, Patricia. So we got a few more skate park. We actually got a nice comment that they're pretty thankful for the skate park moving forward in this area. Looks like their son and kids use a skate park in Urbana. I would highly encourage, the name on it's Michael's parents. I would highly encourage Michael, if he is the skater, to attend our meeting. Because we love to hear from kids. These parks are around, and it's great for kids to grow up with amenities they had a hand in. We also got a question about whether the skate park meeting has a virtual option. And we can follow up on that if we don't have an answer from the panel now. Okay, and then There's also a question regarding a survey that went around. Did the skate park survey go? So that survey is a skate park survey that went around it went countywide. And they're asking if we can share the data. We do have the link to the skate park countywide study that we can put in the chat as well as in our FAQ document, which is on our Montgomery Parks website. So I'm still getting questions regarding the capacity of the roadway, and some reference new developments. And as I was saying earlier, those developments have to do traffic analysis and study as well before they can get approved. So they can't be built when the road is not adequate for it. Okay, so we've had a few questions on references to concerns of questionable activities happening in parks or crime or security. And I'd actually like to hear from our park manager. It's David, right? Not Dave. David, if you wouldn't mind talking about kind of our normal process of how our parks are maintained through trash collection and monitored.
Sure. We've got a team that's assigned to cover the parks that are in that area: Piedmont Woods, Ovid Hazen Wells, Aurora Hills. They take care of the ball fields. They also do trash pickup, mowing, the general maintenance, the occasional things that pop up like a tree that fell or branches that fell. Because they're in these parks every day, they're also keeping an eye out for things like vandalism, for some sort of activity that's occurring that we want to put a stop to. Each one of our park employees can and will call park police as needed. They'll also direct concerns that they've got to me so that I can follow up on them with park police and work with park police to also work on solutions to recurring problems that we're having. So basically what I'm saying is we've got eyes and bodies in that park every day to sort of keep an eye on things and to continue to sort of look at what may be occurring that we need to correct.
Thank you, David.
Hi, it's Brian Lewandowski again. I also like to tell you that in addition to the Wi-Fi services, there will be security cameras posted on poles around the playground area, the hillside area, around the building, and around the skate park, and around the shelters. So our police units will have direct links to those, and obviously, they'll be an intricate part. And as this park is becoming more developed, our police units do drive-bys quite more frequently. So that also is another level of protection. Thank you.
Yeah, I would like to add to that. We putting a lot of effort trying to cite amenity. So it's very to promote visual surveillance. For example, the play area GH, you can, when you arrive at the J area, you can easily look into those areas. And also around the main carousel facility, all these amenities are nearby, and you can see and you can enjoy. So really trying to activate the park to make it a really pleasant experience. Besides the carousel, there are a lot of other things for people to enjoy, yet trying to fit all these amenity with the landscape and topography. So together, this would become a nice facility for you all.
Thank you, Ching Fang.
Josh,
Yep.
I saw a comment here I just thought we should address. There's a comment saying that this Ovid Hazen Wells Park is a neighborhood park and the carousel and skate park make it a destination park. This is not a neighborhood park. This is classified as a recreational park, which is a county-wide park, which is intended to draw people from the entire planning area to the facilities here. So I just want to be clear, this is intended to be a very active park with drive-to facilities that people across the county can come to. And I think that was the intent of it in the area master plan for Clarksburg. And, with the park master plan document itself was recommending this very active uses here. So this development is, in accordance with the larger planning documents and recommendations and approved plans by the board and the council. So I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you, Tricia. Let's see.
I have something to add.
Yep.
The plan include, we're going to plant a lot of nice trees. And these trees are from our own Pole Farm nursery. And the intent is really, besides the amenities, we will have wonderful tree shade and a collection of different all kinds of trees. So it's almost like a arboretum. And so the experience of coming here to enjoy the amenity, you're also gonna have opportunity to enjoy the different trees and learn about it. And this will also enhance the habitat. And this is a very windy and exposed site. So as you can see in this rendering, we will have trees provide shelter to really enhance all these program areas.
Thank you, Ching Fang. So there's been some questions about public transportation and will it be increased in the area? And that's not, not part of this project because it's not the park related. But it's a great question, and we will reach out to a robust amount of people. So we'll reach out to our cousins over and planning, as well as if that continues on to DOT, to see if we can get a answer that we can post in the FAQ for that. But thank you for asking that. That's a great question. We got a question about whether there will be snack area available, and I'll pass to our project manager, Brian, to provide an answer.
Hello, in the master plan and in the facility plan did mention that some of the service, there could be food concessions or food trucks. So we basically provided some facility there in the beginning of the park where the entrance drop-off is. That could be used as an event area. And if food trucks during that event would generally probably be in that location. But I do not believe we have a concession stand planned. But also I would like to reiterate that, remember, this is only phase 1 of the active recreation area. If phase 2, the complete build out ever gets done, obviously, you can voice these same opinions and provide community input during that phase as well. So you still have opportunities in the future. But again, this design and was basically, again, to provide support for the carousel and allow the residents in Clarksburg. That area obviously has been growth has been exponential, and we're doing our best to keep up with our parks and providing these services to the residents.
Thank you, Brian. There's still questions coming in about the swim center, so I'll repeat kind of our answer from before. So the swim center / rec center is ultimately a project for the Department of DGS, the Department of General Services, which builds buildings for the county, as well as the Department of Recreation to do site selection. The need for a swim center and rec center was identified in the master plan. That's not part of this project, but this project also does not preclude that from happening. We reached out to DGS and got a response that the site selection study has not moved forward. And earlier I encouraged folks interested in that to reach out to DGS, which we can put some contact information in our FAQs document so that they know you guys want that there. You guys want a skate park in the area. Sorry, swim center. Yeah, the S's are confusing. Swim center and rec center in the area. And that's how you encourage it to get put into a CIP. And then that's how it kind of all starts, or not starts, but how it all proceeds forward. And our FAQ answer will be a robust answer to that question if we have found any of my responses a little confusing. Latest questions about some amenities for older residents, some outside exercise stations along the paths. So I can pass to Brian and Ching Fong, and I think they can talk about some of the design and focus for that.
Hi, yes. When we looked at the other activity areas, such as the swings, we wanted to make sure that could be used for all ages. So we actually have provided a swing for older residents, the sway swing, and also quite possibly in the hillside area, the slides, they can be used by older adults, and even some of the playground amenities. You take your grandchildren there and they can use some of those amenities, and then of course you've got around the canopy of the building, you have, for everyone's use, a water fountain will be there next to the picnic area, and then all the trails along this project are, allow for walking and exercise, and eventually the Greenway Clarksburg Greenway will be connected through this property on both ends, and when those other properties are acquired in the Greenway, that connection, will certainly provide opportunities for exercise. Oh, I would like to add that the existing playground that is there right now is not going anywhere. That is still in existence, and our playground safety inspectors monitor that every few months and make sure that it's up to par and everything's good. So that amenity is still remaining, and also the shelters, obviously, and you can still use the rest of the park.
Yeah, the overall concept is trying to use the existing playground at a high note, and the carousel kind of anchor the open space. And then people just take the trail, will be able to enjoy the different amenity along the way. And it's designed for people of all ages. And, for older people, primarily walking, observing, enjoying the landscape, tree shade, picnic area. And what we noticed before this improvement was there are existing trails, but there's just not a lot going on along the trail, not much for people to do other than walking and enjoying the landscape. So this round of improvement is really trying to tie everything together. It's kind of like a campus surrounded by the kite lawn and different amenity along the way to create a really pleasant experience. And the reason why the carousel is stopping there is because that's the stream valley where up to that point, as you can see, we try to locate the carousel as centralized as possible and to appreciate the landscape of the site and topography.
Thank you, Jing-Fang. So we're coming close to 8 o'clock. We probably have time for 1 or 2 more questions. I really appreciate the turnout and the questions. They've been very thoughtful. We have one question, or we have another question about kind of speeders along Skylark and overall pedestrian safety. And we agree. It's good to have Vision Zero. We incorporate it in our designs for our parkways, our designs for our parking lots and access roads. And we do work closely with the county. We can, you know, as Ovid Hazen Wells gets more developed, we are able to somewhat influence the county on how they proceed with their Vision Zero goals as well. And we will have our eye on Skylark and access to the park as part of that. Just a reminder, the meeting will be, the recording will be available on our website in the next couple of days. So that can be shared with folks that weren't able to make it. Let's see. Do we get, someone was asking about the skate park for Ovid Hazen Wells, and we got a bond bill for that, correct? Who was the sponsor for it? Does anyone have that on the panel? We can make sure we include that in the FAQ. And we're coming up on 8. Like I mentioned, if you feel like we will be providing a FAQ document, if any of these questions weren't quite answered fully, or we missed one. I mean, there were 64 of them on here, and I'm scanning up and down them. We will make sure they are answered in the FAQ. Very much appreciate everyone coming out. It's been a pleasure. That's, yeah. Thank you for the panel. You can reach out. You saw Brian's name on the website. He loves getting emails. And so we'll be concluding this meeting, and it ends pretty suddenly, so don't let that be too jarring. But we appreciate everyone coming out and spending the evening with us to talk about Ovid Hazen Wells. Thank you.